Hello and welcome to a bit of a different video. So Bungie have been going through a bit of a rough patch recently, which I'm sure basically everyone knows at this stage. It's even seems to be getting a lot of traction outside of Destiny and Bungie circles and stuff. But there's been a few things going on over the past, I would say, month and a bit, which has been a bit troubling. So I thought I would kind of go through it slightly and give my sort of thoughts on it. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I just keep forgetting. So the first thing, which is probably the biggest thing, is all the layoffs which happened a few weeks ago. And I'm sure everyone's seen enough about this, and there's loads of people who got laid off. I think it mainly hit the community management team, the audio design, playtesting. I think a bunch of those areas got affected, but there's a bunch of layoffs. It's obviously very sad, and it seems to be affecting the gaming industry as a whole a lot in recent times. But there's a few big hits which I'm pretty devastated about, even at this stage, weeks past this news. And the two biggest ones for me, I think, are Michael Salvatore and Michael Sherist, I think is how you pronounce his name. And they're both composers for Destiny. And Michael Salvatore has been with Bungie for many years. I think he worked in Halo games. That's how long he's been there for, and he got laid off, which is just crazy. I don't know how long the other Michael has been around, but they both have credits on, I think, every track in Destiny 2, which is incredible. And the Destiny 2 soundtrack is amazing. And on every single one of those tracks, or at least most of them, I believe there's 4 names on them. And if we go all the way back to, let's say, the most recent one, with the Witch Queen, the credits are Michael Salvatore is the first line, Sky Loon, Josh Moser, Michael Skerist, Rutum Moav, and Peter Schlosser. So we're losing 2 of them, and I think that's tragic. I don't know. I'm assuming the music will stay somewhat similar, because like Sky, I believe, has had a lot of credits as well. I think Beyond Light was even like listed as the first composer, but like I think that's a big hit. Destiny's music, I believe, which is probably a bit silly sounding, I believe Destiny's music is one of the best things about Destiny. Not necessarily just about the game, but about Destiny as like a franchise. The music is top tier. If they ever made a TV show, if they ever made a movie, I think the music again would carry the thing, because it's outstanding. I listen to the soundtracks outside of Destiny, and I think they can stand by themselves. They don't even need the game. They are incredible. And I've had that opinion ever since Destiny 2 got released, and I properly got into Destiny. So I think it's something which does not get enough credit, and it does already get quite a lot of credit. So I think those are 2 major hits. Obviously, community management got hit as well. We lost Hippie, who hasn't even been at Bungie for that long, but she was one of the more public-facing community managers, I suppose. The only ones which I knew the names of during the entire time I've been playing Destiny are DMG, who's obviously moved on from Bungie, Deej, who also moved on from Bungie, Cosmo, who's still there, and Hippie. So I think that's a massive hit again. It seems like the community management team are now going under just that, Destiny 2 management team, community management team even, whenever they're doing the This Week in Bungies, or This Week in Destiny as it's now called, and all that sort of communication, which is actually a good thing, I would say. There's not necessarily the personal connection to a certain person, but it also means that you're not as likely to get people being harassed, which I think is just ridiculous. People get harassed over a game anyway. But yeah, I think that is good for the side of the people working at Bungie and for the community managers, and it doesn't affect the communication that much. But it's just really sad that we lost a seemingly really good community manager. But there were some really big hitters. It's going to have a devastating impact on Destiny. I think it was 30% got laid off. So it really was crazy. There's been a few other things as well. The final shape got officially delayed until I think the 4th of June. So that's a 3-month delay, something like that, which we knew was going to happen ever since these layoffs happened, because we were being told this in these reports. But they officially announced it on Monday there, just before Season of the Wish came out. of course, that leads me on to the next thing, which is Joe Blackburn has been doing quite a lot of work, it seems, trying to like sort of repair the community's faith in Bungie and Destiny and stuff, which I think was actually, I think that's really good. So he's been doing some video updates. He started doing it on Twitter, I think, a few months ago, and now he's done another one, obviously on Monday, but just on the YouTube channel and the socials and stuff for Bungie or Destiny or whatever. He's been doing live streams where he's answered a few questions. He's been playing reviewers and stuff, and I think that's really good. I'm really happy that they're doing that sort of thing. Joe Blackburn is, of course, the director for Destiny 2. So I think it's really great that he's doing that sort of thing. Again, he's kind of risking himself. He's putting himself on the line there because like harassment obviously does happen to people, and he's putting himself right on the front line there, which I think is a very brave thing to do. I wouldn't say he needs to do it, but it's definitely, I think it's very good that he's doing that sort of thing, and it does help having it come from the mouth of an actual person. And he is the director of Destiny 2, so I think it is good that he's the one doing it. But the updates coming from him, I think, are great. Of course, the posts say the exact same things from the management team, the community management team even. So, same message, but I think it is good that it's him saying it. I think that does an awful lot of getting trust back in from the community. Unfortunately, they end up doing stupid stuff, like putting in a starter pack into the stores for people to buy, which includes like 3 exotics and like ascendant shards and stuff. Like £15 for 3 exotics and some materials is a rip-off. Especially, somebody put it in perspective that you can get a season for like, what, £3 cheaper than that? I don't know how much actually it was in pounds, but you can get a season for cheaper than you get the starter pack. And it was clearly targeted towards new players. So it's like they're trying to just sort of, I don't know, take advantage of new players, which is really scummy. I personally don't have that much of an issue with the starter pack, mainly because I'm never going to buy it. I'm so used to the likes of Call of Duty and stuff having, packs like these that I'm just sort of desensitized to it. But at the same time, exotics do actually work differently, whereas in like Call of Duty, it wouldn't be like that. It's more skins and accessories and stuff, but it's still really, really inflated prices. I don't think Bungie should go down that route. I think that's, a line which shouldn't be crossed, which they are very, very close to crossing. Thankfully, they did pull it down off the store, that starter pack, which I think was a very good thing to do. The line which they actually gave, which I think was into This Week in Destiny, but let me pull it up. So their wording was, it was on Twitter, I'm sure I saw a post about it, but their wording was, hey everyone, we launched Season of the Wish yesterday and have been monitoring the conversation around what you've been enjoying, what you haven't. We'll start things off with the starter pack, which is something not bringing joy, which is why we pulled it from stores. We've heard your concerns and agree that there are other parts of Destiny 2 that new players should want to dive into first before chasing these exotic weapons, cosmetics, and upgrade materials. Clearly, what they've said is completely the wrong reason, because everyone's been annoyed because of the fact that they're charging extortionate prices for these things, and you shouldn't be able to buy exotics just with a starter pack. A starter pack like that shouldn't be as expensive as it is. You're clearly taking advantage of new players. It's just a scummy practice, and you shouldn't be doing it. It has nothing to do with the fact that new players shouldn't be chasing these things, which of course they shouldn't be chasing. The exotics that were in that pack, I think it was like Wither Horde and stuff, which they shouldn't be chasing. New players shouldn't be chasing that sort of thing, but that's not the point at all. But it's I think it's pretty clear that they decided, like, they put this out because they can't say anything else. Like, it's the Destiny 2 team Twitter account. Like, they physically can't come out and say, yeah, we removed it because everyone was saying it was a scummy practice and we agree. Or, like, we overstepped a line or anything like that. They can't be saying that. Like, they are not allowed to say that. The amount of, like, pressure I think that would have to be on Bungie, I think they would have to be on their deathbed to say something like that, to be completely honest. So I think it's clear that they've said that because they're not really allowed to say anything else like that. Like, they're not able to say the actual truth publicly. I think they've got the message. I'm sure they'll try something else like that again, but sure. The other thing is that during these layoffs and everything, it came out that effectively the developers, which is what you really expect in fairness, the developers are really trying their best to make the best thing that they can, which makes sense. I mean, I think that goes for most people. If you're creative or you're trying to work on something, you want to do the best you can. You know, you don't want to churn out some like annoying money making thing which really isn't going to make you money. Like, you know, devs aren't really going to be motivated that way, I suppose. But if it can my job, I want to do the best job I can. So, I mean, I think that's pretty much common sense. But the devs are trying to make the best game that they can, and they're telling the upper management, like, this is what we need to do to make the players come back to the game. And the management are like, no, do this money making stuff, and then it doesn't work and it backfires. The issue is with these tactics is the Destiny 2 players and the Destiny 2 community will not take it. Like, if it was Call of Duty, there's enough people who casually play Call of Duty that they will just sit there and buy COD points and go like, oh yeah, you know, like that cosmetic looks funky, they'll buy it. There's enough people who just buy stuff in Fortnite to do the same thing, you know. But with Destiny, I don't. There's just not that player base. There's not the correct market, I think, to sell these sort of things and for it actually to be profitable. The amount of community trust that you're losing is not worth the amount of money you're gaining. So it just doesn't work. And I think that's what these sort of executives just don't understand, because they're trying to look at games like COD and like Fortnite and all these other games, and even free-to-play games. I mean, Fortnite's free-to-play, but other ones as well, Apex, for example. They're trying to look at these games and they're trying to be like, oh yeah, let's copy that, let's do that, yeah. And then it doesn't work because it's not the same player base, you know? And even the players who do play Destiny aren't going to partake in that sort of thing, I'd say, in other games. So it just doesn't work. The other wild thing was that the revenue was 45% less. I'm getting all this from Paul Tassie's Forbes article because it's been a bit too long for me to correlate everything myself. But there's been a 40% miss in revenue. Not a loss, I suppose, but it's 40% miss in the projected revenue from, I'm guessing just Bungie in general, which is wild. But I think it makes sense because Lightfall was not a hit. Like, Lightfall was a big oof, in my words. It was not successful. And this, like, the first season, Season of the Defiance and Season of the Deep, both seasons, even though I liked Season of the Deep, I was just thinking, like, this is just being dragged out. They could easily have just not had these seasons exist and use these storylines at some other stage. Like, this is just padding, and I think it still is. I think it's pretty clear they just chopped an expansion in half. So, I'm not surprised, I have to say. It is wild, but I think it goes further to prove my point that, like, Destiny players do not take BS, for the most part. It's not the same player base as these other games where they just kind of slam you with microtransactions and it's fine. And to a certain extent we have just accepted it with Bungie, but there's always been sort of the caveat of like, oh yeah, but it's Bungie, you know, they make good things. You know, they put in a lot of effort, but recently it's just been getting a bit repetitive. There's been a bit less effort, and there's been more monetizing, so yeah, I can't say I'm surprised. I do have hope. I'm glad that they've delayed the final shape instead of just releasing it as it is when they clearly know it's not in a good state to go out. And I'm glad that they seem to be taking the care to make it into the best thing they possibly can, because it is the finale of the story to date. It is sort of like an end to the franchise. It's not, because they'll keep going afterwards, but it's a nice sort of closed brackets is what I would say to this section of the story. So it does need to have a good conclusion. It needs to be satisfying. It needs to be on at least the level of the Witch Queen, which was quite well received. And I don't know if it's possible to get to the level of Forsaken again, but you know, it needs to be pretty good. It cannot be Lightfall levels. It cannot be Shadowkeep levels. It needs to be somewhat decent. It needs to be pretty good, not just somewhat decent. So I am glad they've delayed it. It does give me hope that Joe Blackburn as well is giving updates. It is giving me hope that the Destiny 2 team accounts are, like the community management accounts, are a bit more active, because there was periods of time there where they were just silent, they weren't doing anything. So I do have hope. I do think it'll get better, but I almost feel like it's going to have to get worse before it gets better. I'm very intrigued by things that Joe Blackburn said in his update on Monday, though, that there's going to be some updates. I don't think there's anything too exciting. Guardian games being updated is interesting, but I don't really like Guardian games, so I mean, we'll see what that's like. But the big thing was, I think in April, it was April or May, but I think it's April, there's sort of like a Destiny 2 Into the Light or something like that. thing coming out, which I think is free. I think he said, but it almost sounds like a recap thing. So I think in Destiny 1 there was a not moments of triumph, but there was a pack near the end of the game, which was it refreshed a bunch of activities in the game, and it was like revisiting things. And it was, instead of releasing Destiny 2 earlier, they kind of made this up, I think. So I think it's a similar idea where they're probably going to re-release old things, and we go through the game and update things which are a bit older now. Same way that they've updated Blindwell to kind of become relevant again. So I have a feeling they'll do that sort of thing. They could bring back other destinations. So I think there's a good few things they could do. I am looking forward to that. I'm glad they're going to have some sort of content coming out in that sort of drought, because they are extending this season by... It's closer to 2 months than 3 months, actually. No, it is 3 months. Never mind, it's June. So just over 3 months they're extending it by. So they do need to have something. But yeah, they officially announced it. I'm glad they've delayed it instead of just releasing it in the state that it is, because I think that really could be the final straw for Destiny. If the final shape is actually bad or even average, I don't think Destiny's surviving much longer. So, but I have hope. Even though there's been bad things and rocky things, I have enough hope in Bungie that they will sort of learn and build good experiences and the such. But we'll see. It obviously has been terrible. The layoffs are tragic, both to the game and to the people affected, and it is really bad. But I have hope that the game will continue to go on, and that the final shape will be good. And I'm looking forward to the next few months. I'm enjoying Season of the Wish so far, and I'm hoping this Into the Light thing is good. But we'll see. I think it'll be interesting at the very least. But anyway, that was sort of my thoughts. I don't think there's been an awful lot else. I think that was sort of a nice, quick run at it. But I'm sure I'll continue talking about things if so. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. Please leave your thoughts in the comments if you have any, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.